Jai Hind everyone. Myself is Anuj Kumar. I'm Assistant Professor in Computer Science and Engineering Department in Akgec Engineering College. Today we have taken the lecture on the C programming. That code is BCS 201. And today we have to be discuss the memory allocation in C. As all of we know that when we have to be write a program, so firstly we have task if we have to be assign the memory. If we have to be initialize a variable, suppose we are taking a program, we have to be start from main and we have to be declare a variable a, yeah, a equal to 5. So firstly what we do, we have to be initialize this variable into a memory, or in other words we can say that we have to be create a block of for variable a in the memory, so that we can assign value of a to, we can be stored this value into this block, and this block is, suppose we have to be known as a name a, and it has some base address where we have to be stored the variable. So similarly, when we have to be doing the programming or we have to write the code, firstly we have to be tasked that we have to be declare the memory in the programming. So our topic is the memory allocation in C. So as in simple way we can say that when we have to be allocate this memory, variable memory, so there are the two types. First, before starting the program, we have to be initialize a memory block of that variable. Second one, when we have to be write the program and we have to be run that program, at that time we have to be initialize the memory block of that variable. So there are basically two type of memory allocation in C. Number one is that is known as static memory allocation, and second one is known as dynamic memory allocation. Means if we have to be initialize memory of this variable before execute the program, it will come under the static memory allocation, or in other words we have to be known as that is compile time, before the compile time. Second one, if we have to be initialize memory of that variable after when we have to be run the program, so that is known as the dynamic memory allocation, or in other words we can say that it is done at the runtime. So basically when we have to be allocate the memory of any variable in a programming, so there are the two types. One is the static memory allocation, that is done by the at the compile time, and second one is the dynamic memory allocation, that is done at the runtime. Or in a simple way we can say that static memory allocation we can be use the array, and when we have used the dynamic memory allocation, so we use it is done by with the help of the pointers. Clear? In simple word, we can say that if we have to be access the value of that variable, there are the two methods. First one, we have to be print the value of a, and that is 5. Second one, we have to be print that value that is stored at the address. और ये क्या है हमारा? This is known as the address. First one is that we have to be print the value that is stored in A, means 5. Second one, we have to be print that value that is stored at the address of 100, or address of 100 value is the 5. So there are the two ways to print the value of a variable. Once we have to be print the value of the variable. Second one, we have to be print the value that is stored at address 100. So there are the two ways. Number one is static memory allocation. Second one is the dynamic memory allocation. And static memory allocation is done at the compile time, while the dynamic memory allocation is done at the runtime, or it is helped with the help of the array. And here in the dynamic memory allocation we have used with the help of the pointers. So we have to be explained one by one in brief what is static memory allocation and what is dynamic memory allocation, and how we can be allocate the memory with the help of the static memory and with the help of the dynamic memory. So first one is the that is memory allocations. So there are the two types. Means as we have to be discussed here, means memory allocation means it is a process of reversing the space or occupy a space for a like a variable or any data structure when we have to be doing the programming. And there are the two types. This allocation can occur either before of program start, this is known as the compile time, or during its execution, that is known as the runtime. And in C memory, it is there are the basic two type of the memory allocation. So first one is the static memory allocation. So firstly, we have to be go through with the some basic points of the static memory allocation. Then we have to be defined with the example. So in the static memory allocation, it will be done at the compile time. We have to be discussed. It means that the memory of the variable is reserved before program start or at the beginning of the program, as we have to be discussed here. Suppose we have to be declare a variable int a equal to 5. So before starting the program, we have to be create a block in the memory, and suppose its address is 1000 and where name is a, and we have to be stored the value of 5. So means static memory means compile time ki we have to be create the memory for the variable is reserved before program even begins running. There are some basic rules. First one, when we have to be use the static memory allocation, so it means that the block memory is created, it is fixed. We cannot be changed during the execution of the program. Means when we have to be use the static memory allocations, one we have to be create a memory block, so we cannot be extend or we cannot be reduce the size of that block. That block size is fixed if we are using the static memory allocation. So here it cannot be altered means we cannot be change, we cannot be increase or decrease the size of that memory block during the execution of the program. Second one, it is used for the global and static variable. As in the previous lecture, we have to be discussed local variable, global variable, and the static variable. So we are used for the global variable and the static variable and the array, where when we have to be compile the program, so before compilation we have know the size of the array or size of a static variable या फिर global variable. So we use the static memory allocation. Next one, this type of memory is typically allocated the stack section of the memory. Basically, we have two sections in the memory, one is heap, one is the stack. So if we are using the static memory allocation, so we are using the stack part of the memory. We have to be discussed later in depth ki stack and the heap of the memory part. So when we are using the static memory allocation, so it will be done with the next one. The memory is automatically deallocated when the program finish or when the function containing a local static variable where it is the scope. Means when we have to be execute the, if suppose we have to be write the program and we have to be start some apply on the this, and this is the execution. So when this program execute or execution is finished, so it is automatically deallocate when the program finish. Automatically it will be deallocate. And next one, if we talk about the fast and efficient phonon, the memory size need is can be lead to the memory wastage. It is declared size is larger than what is actually needed. Once means we have to be declare the size of the array. So sometimes suppose we have to be declare a array that has 100 elements and we have to be declare here only 2 or 3 or 5 elements. So mostly part, if we total size is 100 and we have to be stored only 3 elements, means 97 elements is the wasted in the memory. So that it will be occupy the some space, we are using the second type of the memory, that is known as the dynamic memory allocation. As we have so the word that is dynamic. Dynamic means we can be changes the size of the variable. But in previous, in the static memory, we cannot be, once we have to be assigned or declare the size of the variable, we cannot be change it, it cannot be altered that program. But in the dynamic memory allocation, we can be changed. Main point, when we are using the dynamic memory allocation, it will be done at the runtime, means that allow the program to request or release the memory as need during the execution. Sorry. Second one, It offers greater flexibility as the size of the memory can be adjusted based on the program requirement. Means in the static memory allocation we cannot be change the size, but here in the dynamic it provides the flexibility that we can be change the size of the memory, and that will be depend upon the programming requirements. Next one, it is particularly used for handling the situations where the data size is not known. Means if we have to be declare, suppose we have to be declare the size here, we have to be declare an array that has the size of 100, but if we don't know the size of the array, so it's better that we are using the dynamic memory allocations, means where the size is not known until runtime. Before the runtime we cannot be say the size of the runtime. Means when we have to be run the program at runtime, it will be asked how many variable or how many variable, local, global, is which variables we have to be called. So we have to be given the input at the runtime, like user input or dynamic data structure such as linked list, such as the linked list. Next, in dynamic memory allocation, it will be goes in the heap part of the memory, while in the static memory allocation it will be goes to the stack part of the memory, and when we are using the dynamic memory allocation it will be goes to the heap section of the program memory. Sorry. In the programmers must actually deallocate this memory using the specific function or prevent memory leakage. This is the main one another major difference or the important point of the dynamic memory allocations. Now, if we are using, as we say that when we are using the static memory allocation, it will be done with the help of the array. But when we are using the dynamic memory allocations, so there are the 4 types, or we can be say that there are the 4 functions if we are using the dynamic memory allocations. So first one is the malloc. As we say that firstly when we have to be declare a variable, suppose we have to be declare variable a equal to 5 as integer color. So firstly what we have to be task, we have to be allocate a memory block in the memory where we have to be stored the value of the a. So here when we are using the dynamic memory allocations, the first task is that we have to be stored the memory variable in the memory. So there are the 2 functions. One is the malloc, that is known as the memory allocation. So it will be, when we are using the malloc, it will be allocate a single block of memory of the specific size, that is in the form of the byte, and it return a void pointer to the allocated memory where it needs to be cast to the desired data type. The main point when we have to be using the dynamic malloc functions in the dynamic memory allocation, so this memory is not initialized and contain the garbage value. Means when we have to be use the malloc function, so it will be memory block is not be initialized. Suppose we have to be declare this block, it will be here contain the garbage value. What is the syntax of this? When we are using the static dynamic memory, the syntax is we have to be declare with the help of the malloc. First we have to be declare the size, means how many number of variables we have to be declared, then we have to be declare the size. Suppose here in the program we have declare a pointer variable ptr and we have used the malloc. Firstly we have to be define the total number of variables. Suppose total number of variable is 5, then we have to be declare the size of, or all these variable is the integer type. Suppose this is the integer type, so we have to be declare the size of the int. So it will be declared the size of int is suppose 2 byte, so it will be create a 10 byte space in the memory, but it will be and divided into 5 parts, and these 5 parts will contain the garbage value. Simple in the program, simply we have declared a pointer variable, we have to be initialize a variable n equal to 5, means we have to be taking the 5 elements. So here we have to be using the firstly task is the to allocate memory for the 5 integers. So we are using the malloc function, so we have to be declare n and size of the int. This is, we have to discuss it later one by one. So this is the main functions of malloc when we have to be used. But main, again repeat, when we are using the malloc, it will be contain the garbage value. Second one is the calloc, means continuous memory allocation, means the difference between malloc and calloc, it will be not contain the garbage value. So it allocate the memory for the multiple elements and initialize them to 0. हर एक को initialize किससे करके चलता है वो, that is 0. It takes the two argument. First one, the number of the element, that is this one, means we have to be declare n number of the element. Then second one, we have to be declare the size of the each element in byte. Suppose we have to be declare it 2 or we have to be declare it the 4. So when we are using the calloc, it will be contain the two arguments. First one is the number of the variable, second one is the size of the each variable. And the syntax of this is, we are using the calloc, then we have used the number of the element, that is num, and size of the each variable. As here we have to be declare calloc and number of element, size is 2 or 4, and we have to be declare a pointers variable ptr. So same in this example, we are same here, n is 5. So now we are not using the malloc, we are using the calloc, and we have to be declare directly here n size of int, or we have to be declare into 4 in the memory. Once we have to be use the allocate memory, so what it will be done, it will be generate or allocate the memory for the 5 element, and each n is initialized with the 0, while in the malloc function it will be contain the garbage value. Clear? So first task is the when we are doing the dynamic memory allocator or static memory, firstly we have to be assign the memory, or we have to be create the memory for the variable of the function. Third one is the reallocate. In the dynamic memory allocation, suppose we have to be declare here using malloc or calloc, and we are taking the 10 elements, and suppose its size is 2. Now when second time we have to be run the program, now I want its size is 4. So we have to be change, and our pointer variable ptr is the same. So what we do, firstly we have to be reallocate the memory of this ptr, and then second one we have to be assign what is the new size of the variable. So reallocation means it is used to resize the previous memory allocated. Either we are using malloc or we are using the calloc. So it will be take a pointers to the existing block that assign a new size in the byte. Either we are using the malloc or calloc. So for that we are using the realloc function, and that is what it will be do. It will be resize the block of memory that is already we have to be assigned by using the malloc or the calloc. What is the syntax? So we are using the reallocate. Firstly we have to be declare the pointer variable, then we have to be declare the size of the new variable. Suppose in program we are using the calloc, we have declare the number of variable is n and size is 2. Now we have to be here declare suppose n equal to 5. So now we have to be reallocate the program. We are using reallocate. किसको reallocate करना है? ptr को. अब 5 की जगह पे यहाँ पे elements कितना हो गया? 10, या फिर मैं यहाँ पे size कितना कर दूं? 4. Anyone, कोई भी we can be changed. So it will be again reallocate. Firstly it will be allocate the memory for the 5 elements. Now it will be allocate the memory for the 10 elements. Okay, simply here firstly when we are using the pointer variable declare ptr, so first we have to be use the malloc function, and we have to be declare the 5 elements, and each element is the 2, means it will be contain the 10 bytes memory allocate in the memory. Now what we do, we have using instead of 5 we are using the 10 elements. So it will be what it will be do, it will be delete this which is stored in the ptr, and again it will be create a memory for the 10 elements. Okay. Now, but when we are using the malloc, so we have to be free, because ptr is assigned to this memory of block. If we have to be assigned ptr to the another block, so firstly we have to be, what we do, we have to be free this ptr variable. then we have to be assign another memory block to the PTR. So next function is the dynamic memory allocation, that is the free, which is used to deallocate the memory block pointers to the PTR by making it available in the future allocation, and it is used the free dynamically allocated memory to prevent memory leakage. And what is the syntax? In simple example, free and the pointer variable means we are using free and we have to be assigned the pointer variable PTR. So there are the 4 functions when we are using the dynamic memory allocations. Again, where I am noted here ki what is the main important point if we are using the malloc and calloc, as we have to be discussed. In malloc, when we are using, it will be occupy the garbage value, but when we have to be use the calloc functions, so it will be assign the value to the null, sorry, to a 0. In a short time, what is the difference between basic summary or difference between static memory allocation and the dynamic memory allocation? If we have to be talk about the timing term, it will be done at the compile time, it will be done at the run time. If we are talking about the size, in the static, the size is fixed, but here we can be changed. Here, where data is stored, it will be stored in the stack and it will be stored in the heap. What is the memory management? It will be done automatically and it is done by the manual function. Flexibility, it provides the less flexibility because we cannot be size the size of the elements variable. Here it will be provide the more flexibility in comparison to the static memory. Here efficiency, it is faster, but it is some slower as compared to the static memory. Simply we can be say that here the size is fixed, so once we have to be declare the size, we cannot be changed, so it will be move faster. Here again and again we have to be change the size, so it will be take the some time. So we can say that as compared to static memory allocation, dynamic memory allocation is slower as compared to the static. Then what is the risk? No memory leakage, because it is done automatically, but here it is done manually, so there are the chances of the leakage of the memory. So these are the some basic difference between the static memory allocation and the dynamic memory allocation. So in the next section, we have to be declare the a program of the static memory allocation and the dynamic memory allocation and apply all the 4 functions of the dynamic memory allocations.